again. Today we're going to change the front cones on the Classic Mini. Clearly when you do a suspension change you should be changing all four, but I can cover the rear cones in a separate video. So enjoy. Right, so what do we need to do this? We need our new cone, the high-lows, worth adjusting this down. This is going to make it easier to put everything together at the end. I'll do the last bit to keep the grease off the ground. Knuckle, we'll put some copper grease on there. New bump stop, a lower bump stop, and the screw that goes with it. New shock absorber, and you will need one of these or some other version, which is the cone compressor. Without the cone compressor you can't do the job. And be careful, there's a metric and an imperial version, and just for bad luck I've got some really old cones on here and they're imperial, so I've had to borrow that from a friend. And likewise I have borrowed a C spanner 7/16 to be able to access the top bolt on the arm. That's it. So then we just get on with doing the work. So the first thing is to actually get the cone compressor on, which is not this version but the imperial one. So use that so that I can move these things around and then get down onto that hole. So let's duplicate that line. Feels like it's rotating everything down below. Right, that's in. So make sure this doesn't move at the top, because that means that your arm's not compressing the cone anymore. Everything's nice and loose downstairs, by the way, which is why I was having a problem. Bizarrely, it seems to have tightened everything up downstairs rather than loosened it off more. Not going for a great compression to begin with because I may not need it. So now let's go down below. Okay, what do we have to do here? We've got the cone compressed slightly. We'll see whether that's enough in a minute. The old trumpet, the old knuckle. I'm replacing the shock absorber, so the old shock absorber. So what do I have to do? Take off the shock, then disconnect the ball joint up here, take out the bump stop, then I need to get the arm out here because you need to be able to take the arm out to get everything out from up above. So a bit of work to do, but it's not actually that difficult. It's really more about knowing what you're doing than anything else. 9/16 will whip off actually most of our bolts that we want to do here. 9/16, 9/16, 9/16 in theory. So let's just crack on and do those. Yeah, a couple of bolts in here we need to get at, and that's why I was saying, because the line is there of the shock absorber, makes life easy. Now you need to break this nut. Oh, that's not a 9/16. That's a bit bigger. Yep, 3/4. Okay, so this is going to need a ball splitter. In terms of access, just rotate the steering. That'll just help you get the ball splitter on the back and have the access you need to get at things. So a ball splitter tool, if you've not got one of those, you really do want one. Always leave the nut on the top, it just stops it really pinging out afterwards. Got the size on that. There we go. That's gone. Sometimes I go with a much bigger bang than that if it's tight. This one was not too bad. There we go. That's that out of the way. Just watch your tension on there. Okay, now I've got access to everything, so I need to start doing the rest of the dismantling. Still being pressure's off, which is good. Let's take that out. Just held in by one screw. It's an easy thing to take out. Very short screws on at the moment. There we go. It's actually in quite good condition, that one. That then gives me all that space to drop. Almost lets me take that out without even taking it off the off. So undo these bolts. That will then allow me to undo here as well. The axis slides across in that direction, twist, and then we can get the whole thing out, as you'll see. So this really should be imperial, but it seems to be fit very well with a metric 19mm. There we go. Depending on the shape of your floor, you may or may not be able to take it off straight away. You may just need to knock it through a bit before you take it off, but to knock it through you have to undo these 2 bolts. I'll leave that at that point, and I'll just start taking these off. And 7/16 undoing. So the 2 nuts on that side have now both been loosened right off. That should allow me, there we go, to start to push that back through. And you just need to get this nut off in total. So that's that off. You need to push that through enough so that you've cleared it at the end here. And that will, if you have cleared it enough, just make sure you just will allow you to maneuver this ball. It should be broken from there. You to manipulate this round and just get everything out. Sometimes easier said than done. May have to wind the cone up a bit more. Once it broke the cone off, it decided to come off easily. Get that bit, because that's a seal on the far end. Right, that's going to need a big clean-up. That's that job done. Now you need to release the compression on the cone. Release the cone compression first, and second off, take it out of the centre of the cone. All the pressure off, and what you will find you have to do is to hold on to the cone. So anyway, you see the cone didn't fall down, the cone falls down, and then you can get it out. And there's the new cone and the old cone. I'll put it on a flat surface and let you see it properly. There you are, the difference between the old cone and the new cone. You see quite a substantial difference. Very well compressed is the old cone. So I've taken away, cleaned this up. One of the most important things when you're cleaning it up make sure the little hole right at the bottom there is, I don't know if you can see that hole, is actually clean. You just need to put a 2mm drill through it. That will clear it out. It lets the air out as you put the knuckle in. If you don't have that, you're trying to compress air, and compressing air is not a clever idea. So the first thing we need to do is put the new cone in. So that we have to catch at the top there with the compressor tool. So new cone. The easier it is to put the cone in. Normally they're easier than this. Why this one wants to make life so difficult. There we go. So you see the cone sitting much too low, and we just need to adjust that. We need to drop the rod in at the top, and then just pull it out. Now you've got the fun part. We're going to put this back on, and we're going to put all of this in at the same time. Bit of copper grease around the end there. Trumpet on the top. And now, move all the rubbish out of the way underneath. And now let the fun begin. So you need to do the inverse of what you did before. Now watch that seal, that tends to drop off very easily. So you find you need 6 pairs of hands. Well, the 2 that you were given. Okay, so in principle that's there, it's all good. I need a bit more height to be able to put the stop in. First thing I do is put the nut on the end. So ring washer, or spring washer in fact. Nut. So now that's basically held. I have the little nut, little bolt on the far side. Somewhere. Thought I had one from here as well. Okay. Next thing I want to do before I do anything up here is to put this back on while everything's in a reasonable shape. Okay, that's the thing out. Just a point, do watch this. It did start to turn, which means it's undoing, and then suddenly you just get an explosion at the end. Whereas that way you get a gentle thing. You see how that's now compressed that there. So now I've just got to put on the new damper. We clean the damper off, I wonder. So I don't know if you saw what I did there. I put the top on, pushed the damper up against the gas, drop the bottom on as it comes down. And then you've got your little ring and your nut. Back on the 9/16 here. Little 9/16 spinner. There it is. The two pinched up, and that's the torque. Torque is 37 at the top, 48 at the bottom, 42, 48. Torque at the top. That's the top one. Up to torque. Let's check that. Yep. And then 48, 6. Don't know why they're slightly different torques, but they are. torqued top and bottom. So now there's the grease points, top 1, 2, 3. Should do those. Last thing you should do down here before you put the wheel back on, I don't believe I've touched the disc, but clean it. Always worthwhile. You may just to put a bit of grease on. It's definitely worth using some clutch and brake cleaner just to make sure that anything that you did touch has been cleaned off, because you don't want your brakes not to work. Now all I need to do is just tidy up top and I've finished.